So Trent, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I know you've come from work.
I have.
It's very generous of you to get here, and you said you'd be here by 8, and I think you were spot on 8 o'clock.
Was I?
Yeah. So
usually I'm a few minutes late.
so I was pretty impressed with exactly.
I like to keep people hanging, so I'm actually surprised. I'm disappointed in myself now.
No, well, I'm happy because sometimes when you're running a show like this, you kind of think to people, well, it's an unusual request, come over to my house and be in a chat show.
Yeah.
But for entertainers or people interested in comedy, it's not such a stretch, to come over and be part of a show. Now, hang on, before we do, I should have done this before, but we're going to keep the interview going. I'm going to just turn on my desk lights. There we go. So, Richie, director, we need to turn on the desk lights. So, now, Trent, you're a comedy promoter.
I am,
but
yes.
You're also a comedian.
Yes.
And we want to know how you got into comedy, or why you did your first gig, or how you ended up in comedy. If I tell my stories for a second, I went to youth theatre for a year, then I went to drama school, and then I had a mate who wanted to do comedy and kind of did it in a double act. So it was a natural progression for me to do stand-up. But how does a guy did you have a theatre background or something?
Not at all. No theatre background.
So it was more you had a love of comedy.
I just fell in love with comedy, absolutely. More so when I had some mates that used to share files, back in the day when they used to share illegal movies and all that kind of stuff. The comedy, because that's the only way we could get HBO specials and all that down there, unless you had cable or anything. So I got into a lot of the guys on the HBO specials, like your George Carlins and your Doug Stanhopes and all that kind of stuff. And Doug didn't do it at HBO, but his sort of stuff crept through, and a lot of others like them. Steve Hughes I discovered through that, and anyway, it was just going down a rabbit hole of all these guys, and just because before, with all we have here in Australia is really the gala and all that kind of stuff, and honestly that didn't grab me comedy wise, because they're not really pushing the big subjects there, are they? It's
true, very
yes,
true.
Yes, well, very vanilla.
We I grew up in the comedy company era, with Con the Fruiterer. I was on TV in the 80s.
Of course, yes.
And then fast forward, and I always thought, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but I always thought comedy was about putting a wig on your head, which is I currently have a wig on my head. So I've never.
I was going to say something. I figured you did a trip to Turkey or something.
No, I haven't spent any money.
Got some shavings from a donkey or something.
Well, there's probably
ass hair from an ass. I don't know.
That's right. There's a synthetic something going around with less hair. That's all I can say. So. You grew up with listening to the American stuff, the British stuff.
Oh, American, British stuff. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The two main guys, like I was saying, Steve Hughes was one of them, and Jim Jeffries at the time that I was sort of getting, But and a bit of Tim Mitchum as well.
Oh yeah, he's
as
amazing.
Well,
his hair is hair extensions. Tim Mitchum, I hope you're watching. He
has hair extensions.
Yeah. I saw the documentary where he went to the. That long hair is not his, yeah.
Right.
It's not fake hair, but it's hair extensions onto his normal hair, yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
As if he's going to grow his...
I've been told I get a similar look, because...
Do you play piano though?
No, not at all. But being of that world, I get the same as what's his name, Russell Brand as well. Even though I'm not British, just because I got long hair and I'm in the comedy world, I guess it's.
Well, you can get it. So
I don't know if I want it though. That's the thing.
No, true. Well, the thing is that we want to go down as being not original so much, but we've got our own voice, we've got our own style. Now, interestingly enough, I'm going to hear the story, but so you thought you'd try comedy. Is what happened? So?
Yeah, no, it didn't even start from that. So I was just a fan. I just was diving down all these rabbit holes and all this kind of stuff. And I was actually in the late teens, starting experimenting with hallucinogenics, and it was actually on a mushroom experience that I had an epiphany, and that epiphany told me to do comedy.
Yeah, okay.
And I was living in southeast Queensland at the time, and about a couple of months later I packed my bags and my little Mitsubishi Mirage, shot down here and sleeping out of my car for the first few weeks until I got established, and that's when I first started doing comedy. And
do you know the interesting thing is that as I'm going to make a comment here, a value comment, as crazy as that sounds, how can you deny a calling like that, which is, a mushroom-induced calling to go do comedy? I mean, seriously, because
It's the only advice I listen to these days.
for some of us, it could be a dream, or someone in the family goes, "Oh, you should try this or that." Do you know what I mean? Why not a mushroom? Why not?
Oh, absolutely.
And so, how did you get to your first gig, Trent? I mean,
You do what you can, So, how did I get to my first gig?
Yeah, I mean, not how did you get to, but how did you get? I mean, your first time you jump up on stage. I mean, 'cause we really got. I'm kind of interested in. So you.
Well, it was how did I get? So it was basically through the Comics Lounge.
Oh, really?
They were doing a workshop at the time.
Oh, Monday nights.
Tuesday nights, I think it was at the time. Yeah, and you pay like $5 or something, and you got like a double pass thing.
Yeah.
And you got to get involved in the workshop, and then at the end of it you got to enjoy the show. Sometimes they would even pick you to be on the show that night. So there was a few hand-picked comics, and I did that a few times as well.
Now, so pretty much very smart, by the way. Listen to this, everyone. Very smart. Does the workshop, and then goes through the workshop straight on stage. Incredibly smart, because I think if you're watching this show, you might have an interest in comedy, but try and get involved in a Hard Knock Knock school or a Comics Lounge workshop, or it's a lot easier, isn't it, Trent?
It's something like that. Definitely helps break the ice,
Because you're getting up with everyone else who's never done it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't even need to be a workshop. Honestly, if you can just find a quiet room that get one or two punters or something, you go, what's it going to hurt?
Yeah.
Get up, try it. So
for me, I don't like people coming and seeing me do comedy who I know, because there's two reasons, right? The first reason is, every time you do a gig, you can't have 30 of your friends there like the next 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do comedy for
you can try, good luck.
Good luck, right? So you have to face the inevitable that you're doing it, fighting this battle on your own.
Yeah.
With a few comic mates, of course.
Yeah.
That's the first reason. But the second reason is that, if I get up in front of an audience, the chances I'm not going to see those people ever again. It doesn't really matter. Pressure's off.
Absolute.
But if Aunt Judy's in the crowd, and she's heard I'm doing stand-up and I bomb, then Aunt Judy's going to be sitting there at Christmas time going, well, he thinks he's a comic. So I've always been of the ilk where, as you say, find a quiet room, a few people you're never going to see again, and just jump up.
Of course, but I think these are the battles that we have to face as we get more and more on stage. It's not... It's for comedy,
Yeah.
And then if anyone doesn't understand the nuance, then that's on them, Like, I'm not, gonna hold their hand and try and take them through the world, It's if they can't figure that out, that's up to them.
So how many gigs into comedy were you before you started to feel like this is your space, that you can, that you're at peace in this space? I mean, because
oh God, how many gigs am I up to now?
But how many gigs did you come into where you suddenly sit there and go, hang on, I think I can actually do this. Like, because when I met you, interestingly, at Le Monde, you said you'd changed styles recently. You'd kind of taken on more of your own style.
Just playing around with things,
Yeah.
Changing the formula. Tell us about that. That's, you just got to let loose and have fun with things. You can't take it all so seriously. It's comedy. If you're having fun on stage, more often than not, the people in the audience are going to have fun too. So,
100%.
Whatever you need to do to get past yourself and your own sensibilities in this, just do it,
And I will say, Trent was playing kind of a bit of a stoner character. And a bit.
What do you mean playing?
Yeah, okay. So I take that back. He was his persona was a little bit of a stoner character, which is kind of truer to kind of what someone like yourself or I would kind of be more into, like laid back and you know what I mean? Because you got do you ever get that guy from the Young Ones? Neil,
all the time.
Yeah. Well, Neil was the archetypal stoner, wasn't he? Really? But so when so how hard is it so when you started comedy, you would have been following potentially a blueprint of what you'd seen on these American and British comics doing, and then one day you wake up and you go, hang on, I'm going to do what I think is authentic to me. Is that what happened, or?
Kind of, yeah. It just it was just a suit, if you will, to feel comfortable in, to own a situation more and all that kind of stuff, you know. So, yeah, man.
But was it different jokes and everything? And different because
Well, when you know, it's important to ditch things that aren't working. Like if things aren't working for you and all that kind of stuff, don't hold on to it because you think, you know, there's something, you know, yeah, there may be something good, put it on the back burner and then revisit it later. But right now it's not being, you know what I mean? Yeah, so you got to keep moving forward with your material, I reckon. You got to just keep losing the dead weight and keep experimenting, keep, you know, getting loose. I mean, you know, finding yourself, you're not going to find yourself by scripting. You know, it's not acting up there. You know, there's not a formula really. Well, it's a formula, but it's not a script sort of thing. You know what I mean? You want to find that for yourself. You know, in your writing and performing, really. You know.
Yeah, like an authenticity.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's all got to come from an authentic place, especially as stand-up, because the audience will weed that out.
Yeah. What I find in comedy is that I'll kind of write a gag, and it's me kind of as like the puppet person over myself in a way. I'm kind of dangling the puppet, and the puppet person goes, because I'm kind of like almost like looking down on the like almost in the clouds, looking down, going, oh, that's very funny, and that's a funny gag, that'll work. Whereas I've often found what happens is that I can become a little bit of a like I might as well put a cassette in and push play.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've found that this is a problem with my stuff, that I can write a funny gag and it will work maybe quite a few times, but then all of a sudden it's kind of like I'm up there and it's kind of like, it's really just a gag. I'm not showing me wallet with no money in it. I'm not showing me scars. I'm not. You're not showing your true self sort of thing. You're coming. So well, that's the difference, isn't it? It's you got to decide what you want to do in it. Do you want to be like a joke writer where it's an absolute form? You got to say every word precisely where it's meant to go, or I think to have an order of professionalism, you have to always have a little bit of that. Yeah.
But, or do you take them on a journey? Do you take them into your world? Because,
to have the guts to...
More often than people are interested in doing that because they're sick of their own. That's why we watch movies, TV shows, a little bit of escapism. So it's kind of like that with stand-up, So I think that can be good for people.
Yeah, what I'm going to have to do, I think, is do what you did. Sit down and go, okay, whole new routine that potentially might...
Start again. There's nothing wrong with setting a challenge for yourself, man.
I know.
Like, what's the point in doing this? Like, you got to set a challenge. That's the thing. It's up to you to make anything of this, So you got to set your own challenges and all that. But if you get going up there with the same stuff, doing the same formula, all that kind of stuff, and it's just not working, then you're wasting not only your time but everyone else's.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was a comic who was American comic who I think got the red hair. I don't know if you know him. He said he writes a brand new routine every year. Like you were talking like.
Louis C.K.
Yeah. And
he used to. I don't think he has that formula as strict as he used to since his fall from grace.
Okay,
so.
I haven't been following it, but what's interesting about that?
No, you didn't follow the cancellation of one of the biggest comedians.
No. He must have said something. He might don't. Tell me later what he said. Always up for a bit of gossip, off-camera gossip. Now we've got a bit of a flickering camera too. Unfortunately, it's been flickering a little. Has it been flickering a little bit?
Right.
Yeah, it's been flickering a little bit. Camera 2. Go on the camera 2. Go on camera 2, so it's not flickering now. Go back. Anyway, it's been flickering in the background. You'll see it flicker from time to time. Okay. But what it actually looks like is a jump cut. It just looks like we've kind of cut something out that someone said.
Yeah.
It doesn't look.
Can you fix it all in post?
Well, we just had the flicker, unfortunately. But anyway, look, there we go. There was a bit of a flicker. There it goes. It's flickering again. Hang on, flickering again. I don't know if it's a cord, whatever.
Anyway. I thought I was stepping into a professional setup too.
I know. Richie, can you just push that cord in and just don't move the camera so we keep the angle. Just push it in. This gives a little bit of a nudge. Okay, hang on. Okay, let go. Let's go. Oh my goodness. I've got another cord. I have to try it. Anyway, we'll persevere. If you saw the first episode with Maury Morgan, there was camera flicker on camera. 2. So, and we just put up with that basically.
It's the mushrooms.
It's the mushrooms.
It's the mushrooms.
How did you know I took mushrooms today? Bloody bro. I thought this was a safe space for druggies.
Well, it is a safe space for anybody.
I thought that's why we're near the railway station.
We do not discriminate at all. Now, getting back to it, so you started comedy, you've changed your persona, you've gone to more about
Just playfulness.
Playfulness, yeah. There was, I did the School of Hard Knock Knocks, the Hard Knock Knocks Comedy School a number of times, and Katie, Katie was one of the teachers.
Yeah.
And Katie said,
oh, really?
Yeah, and he said he was like a guest alumni.
Yeah.
He said, just have fun. He said, and you it's funny how when you do comedy, you forget about, hang on, I'm meant to just jump up and have a bit of fun. You know what I mean? I mean, if I'm not having fun, if it's kind of like, stressful, whatever. Anyway, Katie, he nailed it. Just get up and have fun. Yeah.
Well, what are you doing this for? I mean, it's a long journey if you want to succeed, and if you're not having fun from the start, more likely than not, you're not going to have fun if you make anything of it too. So it's the point.
Yeah.
And what's the point in life if you're not having fun anyway?
Look, it's great insight. And that's probably a whole interview on its own. This whole thing of like professionalism versus careerism versus funism.
Oh, absolutely.
And at what point do you have to please the boss or the promoter or the TV network or the show?
For sure.
Because our standards, we don't have any standards on this show, so we don't. But we got no one.
Cheers.
We've got cheers. We've got no one to please but ourselves here on the Arwin Kraze show. Now, you're also a promoter. You run a room.
I run a room, yes.
In Footscray.
In Footscray.
Called Footloose.
Called Footloose Comedy.
Now,
so it's not Footloose like the movie. It's actually Foots then Loose Comedy.
Okay, yeah.
So Foot short for Footscray. Loose as in loose comedy.
Okay. Now, before we go on to talk about all the adventures of being a promoter, there was a bit of a rumour that the venue was going to be closed or the pub sold or something.
I started a GoFundMe for the joint. And it's not because it's closing down, it's because we want to fix it up so it ultimately doesn't get swallowed up by the gentrification in the area. So
there is no immediate threat at the moment?
No, not at all. No, not at all. But we want to get it up to, put a new lick of paint on it, fix a few things, few of the amenities and all that kind of stuff and just get it running. So you mind if I do a bit of a plug?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
So Footscray Hotel, please get on the GoFundMe, donate what you can. It's one of the last old pubs in Melbourne. It's a 145-year-old pub. It's the last pub in Melbourne that hasn't been either knocked down or gentrified. So we want to sort of keep it as it is, like as much as we can. We want to keep it a bit old and a bit shitty, but fix everything else up, So it'd just be nice for the area because there's just a lot of new shit going around just to have like that old pub still there. So and I think a lot of the locals would appreciate it too, and they help out the local community a lot. There's a lot of struggling people that live in the rooms upstairs and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. If you get a chance, if you get on the GoFundMe, I've also put a link to a little documentary that they did on the place. It's about a 15-minute, I think, documentary.
Wow.
That just basically goes through the good work that they do and how the owners and thank God he's wanting to keep it because he has agents throwing him money and he's knocking them back. He just throws the offers in the bin before he even looks at them. So, and I know that it's multiple millions that he's sitting on. So
yeah, of course, it's an iconic space in an iconic location.
Absolutely,
and there's big apartments all around it. Easily you could chuck something big there, 10 stories, whatever, 5, 8, 10 stories. Tell him if he's given a call. As Arwin Kraze, I can't afford a doorknob, by the way, let alone an apartment. One day I'm going to walk into Bunnings, I'm going to buy a doorknob and go, okay, this is the start, okay, I got a doorknob, okay, now I got to find a window, next I'll afford a door. Okay, so what's it like being a promoter? Tell us about that because oh God. What's interesting is that sometimes
you've got to love comedy, I'll tell you that.
Well, sometimes comics become promoters, and it can either shift them more to promoting and away from comedy, or it can actually improve their comedy. They become better comics because they've got access to a stage, regular stage. Also, they make a lot of connections, a lot of buddies.
Yeah.
People can help people with their writing or gags or feedback, or the more vested, the faster the growth. You know what I mean? So the more watering you do, like when you run a room, it all kind of permeates together. And so, has it made you a better comedian, or is it?
No.
But has it made you look at promoting it? Yeah, promoting in a sense, like, are you?
Yeah, well, it definitely given me a new appreciation for people that run open mics and all that kind of stuff for sure, and that do promoting in general. But it's I don't know. It's not something I sort of just fell into it. To be honest, it wasn't something that I was going out to seek. You know, it just started with this old pub. Some young kid was set up like this mic and a guitar speaker, and basically people were just doing little jokes and all this kind of stuff. And you know, he didn't. The guy that was running it wasn't really running it or doing anything with it. And I just one day he just didn't show up, and everyone else was going to go home. All the comics that rocked up in the night just said, "Oh, we're just going to go home." And I went, "Fuck it, no. Let's do something. Like, there's no point." So I emceed the night, and just we carried on, and that was the first official Footloose gig. I think later that night, I think it was either that night or the following week. I can't remember, but it was Reese Hallowell, fellow comedian who coined the term Footloose. And I just started promoting it as that, just putting a few little ads here and there, you know, nothing big and all that, just slowly been building up from there for the last almost 3 years now.
3 years, so that's a commitment. Now, do you run a second room or a third room?
No, listen, if I do, I'd better get paid for it, because like running an open mic, it's already enough, and you don't get nothing for it, you know. It's just the love of the game, you know. So
it is a sacrificial, unthankable job in many ways.
And plus the reason why I wanted to I wouldn't do an open mic anywhere else but the Footscray Hotel, because it's a shithole. Yeah, in the best of terms, like it's
in an affectionate way.
It's in an absolutely affectionate way, in the like, it's just got a lot of character, a lot of soul, and to me, like, the stand up was like born in places like New York, like it was born in the gutters of this melting pot of cultures, and it sort of came out of that. So I kind of think that's sort of staying true to the roots of stand up by continuing doing a gig in a you know, sort of run down old place with a lot of character. And
I think it's. I know I've gone along with John Braybrook, I think, a couple of times to Footloose.
Yes.
And I've gone there, I think, even on my own, maybe once or twice.
Yes.
And it's kind of interesting because, you know, you get a kind of Footscrayan clientele going there. You know, there's kind of like a few. They're a lovely audience, by the way.
Yeah.
And there's some kind of like.
Well, it's your more working class audience, which is
exactly. But they're lovely. You know, they're a lovely audience.
It's what you want. In an audience.
And I've seen Tolkie down there, Dave Tolkie, kind of go, you know, set foot in it, and I think I've been booked twice and haven't done it.
Yeah, right.
You know, because I've just either been a bit under the weather or chickened out or something. I can't remember exactly why, but I've been booked twice. And
I can't remember. I'm just used to it. And flick them off and move on to the next person. No offense. That's how you've got to do it.
Well, I mean, as someone who is a long-suffering mental patient, I do get a little bit nervy about gigging sometimes, a little bit kind of paranoia.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
So, but while you're here, put me down sometime and just mess I want to go and do it because it is actually a great room. It's a room that...
Absolutely. Well, I'll do the call out here. I don't know how many people are watching this thing, but if you want to sign up to Footloose, anyone can sign up.
Yeah.
You get on the Australian Free Comedy Facebook page, and you basically, I put a thread on there, and I do it monthly, so I put all the Thursday dates are available that month. you put your available dates, and you put your name if it's different to the name on your Facebook that you're doing it through. So if you do all that, well, it's not a guarantee, but if you consistently put on month after month, these things get picked up, and you will get your chance. But I've obviously got to rotate things and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of people wanting to do it.
Can people do it kind of once a month, or that's a bit, or is it once every 2 months? Like if someone wants to be a regular down there.
Listen, I do have some people that get on, once a month. It's one of those things that you need to be at that level. It's just one of those things, like I'll only because you got to start. That's the thing. It's thinking of doing promotion work and all that kind of stuff. You just got to be real with people and all that kind of stuff, and go, well, I just I'll put you on because you need a bit of work, and if you come in and do that work and I see that work, then of course I'm going to give you more of a chance and all that kind of stuff. I'll help out where I can, but if I'm getting these people that are succeeding regularly and they're a reliable act and they're going to do good ultimately for the show as an entirety, you know what I mean? Then
he really is a promoter. Hang on, I'm convinced he really is a promoter. No, but it's true what you say, isn't it? Of course. I mean, if people are reliable and they've got a good act or solid act, and they're gonna, and even when they're dying, they don't really die. They've got that kind of, they've got that level where, that as you become a better comic, you got that range that goes upwards. That even when you die, you don't really die because you got so many words to get out of it. You got so many ways to get out of it, and so So I know. It's funny. I did last gig I did was at Le Mans, and I didn't like it. I died basically.
Okay.
But
are you emceeing? Because I've seen you MC there a few times.
No, just once I emceed.
Just once, was it?
But what happened was Aidan Hitchens, yes, who's coming on the show on Monday. He said to me, he said, you know what? He said, guys like you don't die as bad as the new guys die.
Yeah.
Like you think you're dying by your standard.
Yeah.
But you're not really dying compared to someone who's fresher in the game. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, it's kind of like this. You kind of like that range.
It's funny because I was listening to this, I can't remember, from some podcast or something, and they were talking about how you're actually got the same level of anxiety of getting on stage as you did from the start to doing it 30 years later.
Right, yep.
Apparently you just handle it better.
Yeah.
But it's always there and at the same level as much as you didn't, because it's definitely not the same the first few times.
Yeah.
You got to get the first few times out the freaking way with, and cobwebs.
Judith Lucy.
Yes.
Said interestingly in a TV show about being a comedian. She said when you're about to hop on stage, it's like you're in the hurricane.
Okay.
You're about, it's like, but then when you hop on stage, it's like you're in the eye of the storm. It's very peaceful on stage.
Yes.
Like as they're introducing you, it's like boom, 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 boom. There can be a bit of nerves, but then once you're behind that mic, it's a very peaceful experience. It's not.
That kind of makes a lot of sense to her personality too.
Well, what a great comic Judith Lucy is.
Oh, fantastic comments.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. But that was, I kind of find
she always looked like she come through the eye of the storm.
Funnily enough, I had the privilege actually of doing a 2-week season at the Last Laugh this years ago.
Yeah.
When it was in Smith Street, and they had upstairs. They had La Joke, and La Joke was kind of like anybody could do La Joke.
Okay.
It'd be weird and wonderful, and anybody could do it. And then downstairs they had the Last Laugh, which was kind of a very serious room.
Right.
So they had the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
They had kind of anybody could do La Joke, with you pull a face, come in with a plastic bag over your head, anyone could do it. But downstairs was definitely pro room. And the big people of comedy used to do downstairs. And I was doing comedy with the other guy. We were very lucky to have a 2-week season. And I remember before going on stage, I'd feel physically sick. Like I'd go to the toilet 5 times. Because it wasn't anything to do with anything other than the reputation that the room held in its own way.
Yeah.
You kind of thought, hang on, all the acts do well. What if we don't? All this like mind crap, head game stuff that you play with yourself when the stakes are higher. You know, whereas people who handle that stuff really well, like the Dave Hugheses, I mean, they're really good at handling that stuff. You know, they can come out to 1,000 people, and it's just really, it's just another gig, another opportunity to shine. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, delicate Ian or Arwin, you know, kind of struggles in, that, because I'm kind of like I prefer a smaller crowd to a bigger. In a way, you know what I mean? Like a more intimate crowd feels like a safer space for me.
Well, I reckon the Dave Hugheses and all that kind of stuff would agree with you in a smaller room, but it depends how small. How small are we talking though?
Well, I don't know.
Because they reckon that the few hundred is the golden mark. Anything more than that is a bit much. Anything smaller than that, it's not the same.
Yeah, you don't get
not the same impact.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, sometimes I used to do these rooms where you might have 27 people, 30 people, but they're real audience. They're not just comics.
Yeah,
and that's a nice because it's almost like dinner party. Dinner party. You know, and then I've done some gigs where you've had like 800-900. And
where do you see yourself going with this anyway?
Even at this show or the stand-up?
Just in general, your career, mate.
I don't know. Look, that's a big question. I probably need a few mushrooms myself to kind of work it out.
Well, it's okay. I know a guy. So
well, funnily, years ago, I had an acid trip years ago. We got it off this guy called Macca. There was like the ones on the paper.
Yeah,
and
tabs.
Tabs, and I this is going back to when I was at university, and I scored it for starters, and we all had one.
We're in the week.
What's that?
We're in the week.
I scored the tabs. I had a tab. My 3 other mates had a tab. They got off their faces.
Yeah,
and nothing happened for me.
From one tab?
Yeah, like I had the tab, they had the tab, and they were pulling...
And you got nothing from it?
Nothing.
Okay.
And they were pulling their face in the mirror and they were freaking out.
Did you have any more? You should have just taken a fistful then.
No, you know what? I can't blame anyone other than... Because I'm the one who scored it.
Yeah.
You know, I can't say, they dudded me because I scored it. You know?
Yeah.
It just didn't do anything, so I never went back.
That can happen.
Yeah. So, anyway, but that's an acid story from when I was at university.
Yeah. Have you done mass acid since then?
No, I never did it again.
Really?
Yeah, never did it again.
Right.
But sometimes, because I'm 55, sometimes you think, look, what you haven't tried by the time you're 55, maybe you just, let it go through to the keeper. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I mean, I did live with the bong beside the bed for many years and did all that stuff. And, I've been there, done that. I have tried ice. I've tried heroin.
Oh, you've tried ice and heroin.
Tried cocaine.
Of course, you live near a railway station, so that was going to happen at some point.
But a lot of that, and I tried acid, which didn't do anything. But a lot of that stuff was basically just to see what it was like.
Yeah.
I just want to see what it was. But the thing that I really loved was, cigarettes and pot. I mean, that was the thing that I loved. You know what I mean? And I used to, and Jimi Hendrix, and the whole kind of like, the whole hippie thing. I mean, I loved it. I loved the whole thing. Don't know how I got through it, actually. Gave up cigarettes for 14 years. And recently, I have occasional one here and there, and occasional joint, whatever, medical joint.
It's got to be medical, does it?
It's got to be medical, which is controversial, but anyway, I'm just giving you my drug resume there.
I don't know if the medical's controversial. Is it controversial?
Well, there are some people who like, they're like, okay, so medical marijuana, it's got a big tick from the government, doctors, everything, but not my son.
Yeah,
you know those people.
No, I've seen in some people that turn their nose up at the street stuff, and it's like, the medical stuff, that's okay. It's a prescription. It's through a doctor. It's all official, isn't it? It's all from the same plant, guys. I don't know if you know this, but there's only one type of marijuana. Well, there's multiple types of marijuana plants, but it's all marijuana.
Yeah. Well, if I ever have a smoke, I always say to people, it's medical. It's medical.
Yeah.
And I have had a script, and it helps. The thing with me is that it's a bit diminishing returns. A little bit helps a lot. A lot doesn't help at all. You know what I mean? So anyway, I don't know. Why are we talking about me? We're talking about the guest here. Anyway, so Trent, you don't plan to run any other comedy rooms?
Maybe one day, but it'd be like a semi-pro sort of thing. Like, I'd like to do something with the experience that I've learned of running an open mic to actually do something to. Because it'd be good to dip my toes into both aspects, the open mic and the, paid comedy,
Yeah.
Proper promoting, professional promoting.
Now, when I first met you, I thought this guy should be a movie producer, movie director. I don't know. I just saw it. I'm good this way. I can pick it. I can pick people. We've got Cameron.
Hey man, I'm just looking for the next party, man. I'm just doing it to have fun. If I don't see I can have any fun in it, I'm not going to fucking do it, all right?
I'll tell you something interesting. I heard this story about Richard Branson. Correct me if I'm wrong. Might not be a true story. I mean, I don't know. I have to talk to them.
I don't know. Is anyone fact-checking?
Richard Branson signed up Pink Floyd years ago.
Yeah.
Went out on this night with them after they signed the contract. Had this massive...
Pink Floyd before they were Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Had this massive...
Richard Branson?
Yeah, had this massive drug bender with them. Got drunk, pooed their pants, like cocaine, everything. The next day, Pink Floyd said, they tore up the contract, said, we don't want to work with Richard. I'm not saying some party.
Richard Branson?
Yeah,
they don't want to work with him after that?
No,
oh, wow.
It was too much fun. You know what I mean?
Of course.
They got scared off. But the thing is that this is the take-home point. It didn't change Richard Branson's career, nor Pink Floyd's career. And so, partying, the fact that you like to party, great. It's not going to change the fact that maybe one day you'll be a movie producer or be a TV producer or be I see you should be producing things. But, and you know what? And a partying attitude is not going to change the success.
I wouldn't say I'm a party, but I just like a good time,
It's just nice.
Got to enjoy life.
Got to enjoy life. Well, look, I tell you what, we have got to our 40-minute mark. So is
that how long the show goes for?
That's how long the show goes for.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I want to thank you, Trent, for coming on. Now, we have had some flicker in camera too, as you've seen.
That's okay.
Flickering.
So back can't go smoke.
Well, go at the front.
Cool.
Go at the front, yeah. So,
thanks, guys.
Yeah, hang out. Stay here while we play some end music to our show.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, Trent, thanks for coming on the show.
No problem, mate.
Trent Mahon, and we'll see you again down at Foots Loose.
Foots Loose Comedy every Thursday night. Come down.
And we will see you next time. Good night.